G'day, ZiggyD here, and today I have a very special once-in-a-lifetime offer for all of my viewers. For just one easy payment of a like on this video, you can own your very own Blast Vacuum 3000. But wait, that is not all. All of my subscribers get a free upgrade, that's right, a free upgrade to the Blast Vacuum 3000A. A for Ascended, which comes complete with the optional extra, you have Fortify. If you jump on this limited time offer right now, you can be vacuuming up the denizens and loot of Ray class like a pro before you can say, "This isn't another no DPS ZiggyD build, is it?" A budget-friendly, hardcore surviving Yazari viable, this build has it all. And you thought that was not all when I said, but wait, that's not all. Well, wait, that's not all. For a limited time, limited by my patience, you viewers can leave a comment asking if this build is at Zeri viable, a side boss that was released over 2 years ago, and I won't answer. Okay, alright, that's enough of that. I'm pretty excited to share this Blast Rain Duelist build with you guys. I made it at the start of last league as my league starter and currency farmer, and it did really well. And as soon as I saw the Duelist Champion reveal for Ascendancy, I knew its destiny. Now in Ascendancy, this build is really fun and unique, with solid performance for both survivability and damage on a really budget set of gear. What you're seeing here is only partway there as well. Apart from uniques, I'm rocking pretty average, mostly self-found gear. Chinsol, this build's weapon, is a 1-fuse item in Piranha's Hardcore. Rearguard the Quiver is like 2 to 3 chaos, and Empire's Grasp Gloves, an item that gives this build its vacuum power, is 1 to 2 chaos. All up, I'm wearing somewhere in the realm of 10 to 20 chaos worth of gear here, most of it actually being self-found. However, the thing that really made me fall in love with this build is that it's a really weird setup that is absolutely not meta, but it actually works pretty well. Basically, it looks and smells like a hipster, but it's secretly a hard-working blue-collar battler. This build uses Blast Rain and Vile Burning Arrow with the point-blank Keystone passive stacked with Chinsol's effect to achieve 150% more damage at close range, which works exceptionally well with these two skills. We then use Empire's Grasp to reverse the knockback effects from bow crits with the King of the Hill passive, and the Chinsol effect to pull enemies towards us into close range and keep them there. Defensively, this sounds like a horrible idea, I know, but it actually works surprisingly well. Mobs in PoE aren't the smartest creatures around, and many of them, when pulled on top of the character, just kind of freak out and try and run away constantly, and they won't actually attack you. This happens a lot with melee characters, melee enemies especially. So you can keep pulling them on top of you just by continuing to attack them, and they just keep trying to run away to no avail, and they don't actually attack you. In addition to this effect, we also use a Stibnite Flask, one of the new ones, to create a smoke cloud that we pull enemies into and blind them, reducing their chance of hitting us. And on top of that, we will often pull them into the icy ground effect of our Arctic armor as well. And then, in terms of actual mitigation, we get to rock the Champion Ascendancy You Have Fortify effect for 22% mitigation from all hits of damage with the scaling in that class Ascendancy little node things. Stacked with Arctic armor and endurance charges, I currently have 47% hard mitigation of physical damage. And then, that's not counting armor as well, which is on top of that. So most things that do hit us hit a bit like a wet noodle. And then if that wasn't enough, this bow build also gets block. Rearguard enables blocking with a bow, and we combine this with the staff block nodes converted to bow block nodes using the Lioneye's Fall Duel, which gives us a total of 33% attack block and 15% spell block. Not bad, right? And then this build has excellent sustain on top of that as well. Life Leech from the Duelist area and life gain on hit from Poacher's Mark work very well with Blast Rain to give a ton of life constantly returned. And of course, Reflect is no problem either. Blast Rain is a 50-50 Fire Fizz skill that's also split into 4 hits, so you don't really take any Reflect damage, and if by some miracle you started to, you could use Vile Burning Arrow Trap to kill Reflect rares if needed without taking any damage at all. So, it's got a ton of really fun defensive layers, all on top of a strong defensive mechanics of the actual Reverse Knockback. I'm kind of in love with this build, guys, in case you can't tell. I'm kind of in love with everything about it. Don't even get me started on how satisfying Blast Rain feels to play with Reverse Knockback pulling in the mobs. It's so visually satisfying, it feels so good to play. AoE clear is pretty decent in this build, nothing like Lightning Arrow or Kinetic Blast of course, but solid enough, and single target is really good. Blast Rain does over 160% attack damage to targets in the center of the attack, which is very easy to maintain with the reverse knockback. You can pull them on top of you and then just keep attacking them in that spot. And then on top of that, we get to use the really sexy explosive arrow point blank GMP trap setup, which overlaps a ton of really high damage explosions. The point blank effect is actually calculated from the trap rather than you, so you can use your point blank 150% more damage at range essentially with this setup. You can usually kill most bosses with the 3 charges, if not less. The next thing I want to talk about that you guys might find odd is the fact that this build is not a resolute technique build. This style of setup using Lioneye's Fall to convert melee to bow nodes just had one thing I couldn't ignore: access to some of the best crit nodes in the game. That is the disemboweling cluster, which is, ironically, attached right to the node that resolute technique is attached to. It felt like such a waste to ignore that and get resolute technique. But of course, crit is nothing without accuracy, or so they say, and a build in this position is going to have a difficult time getting a lot of accuracy. Well, this build gets almost no accuracy, and I'm actually sitting around 86% chance to hit at level 85. So, I'm an idiot, right? Well, maybe not, maybe not. Turns out, Poacher's Mark is really freaking good. Like, insanely good. Especially when it comes to the whole accuracy versus evasion thing. You see, my level 19 Poacher's Mark has the effect cursed enemies have 48% less evasion. Basically, it halves their evasion. It is insane. At this point, I might as well have 95% chance to hit. I think most people discount Poacher's Mark outside of leveling. It's really good for leveling, obviously, but they discount it at endgame in favor of things like Assassin's Mark. However, I've grown to love it. In addition to making it so that we have to invest basically nothing into accuracy, so we can get some crit, we also get good life sustain, a really low investment mana solution. I sustain mana off this alone at the moment, and a bonus frenzy charge generation method that doesn't involve a 4% degen. Not to mention that a Blasphemy Curse works really great with a build that pulls everything into melee range, as you can imagine. Alright, so now let's break into the nitty gritty and talk about gear and passives. If you want to bypass this longer section here, or if you just want something to refer to as we go, you can check out the spreadsheet linked in the description below for a full outline. So the Champion Ascendancy allows us to get a high level of tankiness, obviously with you have Fortify, and the Fortify effect being increased, as well as additional evasion and armor, but it also allows us to get a lot of clear speed bonus as well. While under the effects of Fortify, which is 100% of the time, we also gain 8% move speed and 10% attack speed. And then over here we also get another 10% move speed. That's 18% movement speed from this tree right here alone, which is, you know, that's close to being another pair of move speed boots on your character. It's a big boost to your overall clear speed. In terms of leveling, you'll take Inspirational first, because this will improve your overall leveling speed, so you'll grab this in normal difficulty. And then in Cruel, you'll get Unstoppable Hero, which unfortunately won't really do much for you for some time, but you'll get Fortify once you get to Merciless difficulty, and that will be, that's when it all starts to come together. In terms of leveling progression for the tree, it's fairly linear. What you'll be doing is heading out through the Duelist area first, getting Fury Bolts on the way out, and you'll be rushing straight towards Point Blank. Point Blank is a massive leveling speed boost, and if you've ever leveled an archer with Point Blank, you'll know that it's just such a big increase to your overall damage while leveling, getting a 50% more damage multiplier while in close range, which is easy to do while leveling, especially if you're leveling with something like Shrapnel Shot earlier on, later Rain of Arrows, and of course Blast Rain once you actually get it. Huge leveling speed boost. I would avoid King of the Hill and the Life Leech for now, while at low level, because they don't tend to do much. So instead we'll head up through this way, and grab the Life and Fizz damage on the way through. You'll be really tanky at this point. From there, you're going to head straight up into the Templar region. This will get you the area damage scaling and area of effect, which will be another improvement to your clear speed while leveling, and you can grab the rest of the life and damage in this area as well. Now from there, that's when you start transitioning into this actual Lioneye's Fall style build. So what you're going to want to do is start getting enough points together to get these nodes. You're going to kind of get them all at once, so it's not a bad idea to start traveling down here and grabbing some of these life nodes first, and then you can use your free respec points to respec out of these and into these damage nodes all at once, because just grabbing some of these without the Lioneye's Fall jewel in there doesn't actually do anything. So it's not a bad idea to have those points, especially if leveling in hardcore, be in life first, and then transition out of that life into more damage, and you should still be very tanky, because you're going to have a lot of life overall. This is just so the points aren't just sitting in something that's not doing anything for a while. So once you have all of this area and have picked up this life and such once again, you want to get King of the Hill, basically at the same time as you're getting Disemboweling, because that extra crit chance and the knockback is really nice, and it's not a bad idea at that point to grab the life leech too. And then you can finish things off by going down and getting Iron Grip. You should have plenty of strength at this point. Try and get some strength on gear if you can to boost the effectiveness of that and your overall life, and then grab the rest of the life here for Bloodless. For duels, anything like projectile damage, bow, physical damage, life, area damage, all of those things are very good. I got a one with mana gained on hit here. This is not explicitly necessary because Poacher's Mark will take most of the burden, but it does help a little bit, especially against single target. For the weapon, obviously this build is centered around the Chinsol. This weapon is exceptionally cheap, and you don't really need to get a linked one. What you can do instead is get a very cheap 5-link or 6-link chest, like for example this one just here. I bought this for 1 or 2 Chaos, 5-link white, and I just crafted it with an Alk, mastercrafted some resist on. Hey, good enough to go. Got a big life roll, good stuff, super cheap. Now, although Chinsol is very cheap, and the actual physical DPS on this bow is not that great, the 100% more bow damage at close range means that the actual DPS you're getting from this weapon rivals that of very well-rolled rare bows. So it's very difficult to get a bow that's going to have higher DPS than this in a build like this, that also stacks the point-blank keystone. The quiver is rearguard, and you actually need this if you want to enable the block nodes from the tree. Just getting the block nodes from the tree won't actually work. As you can see here, if I take this off, I actually lose all of my block altogether, even though I have bow block node trees, nodes in the tree from Lioneye's Fall. You actually need this item to enable it, so if you're going to be getting that block, then you need rearguard. So this one is pretty much mandatory, but it's also not a very expensive unique either. Overall on your gear, you want to be trying to get as much life and strength as possible. Strength converts into life and also gives you more damage in this build as well through the Iron Grip keystone. Any bonus accuracy rolls you can get on things such as jewelry or your helmet here, like for example this one, will help you out, though not explicitly necessary thanks to the strength that I talked about with Poacher's Mark. Empire's Grasp are not at all mandatory for this build, but once I actually tried them, I couldn't take them off. They are so much fun, and that reverse knockback effect helps you increase your clear speed overall, and I think even makes the build tankier, so a very nice idea to get these. But you can try with them, you can try without them, and I certainly didn't mind playing without them as well. The build still played quite nicely. For your boots, you just want to get whatever life and resist you can in addition to getting maxed out move speed, 30% move speed. Because this build is slightly melee for a bow build, the more move speed the better, because you want to be able to run up close to mobs as quickly as possible, jumping pack to pack. And the build just feels a lot better with, you know, good 30% move speed boots. As you can tell from these rares, none of these are particularly good. None of these rares are particularly good, right? Like, these are all, actually most of these are self-found, if not like 1 to 2C items. For your jewelry, things like weapon elemental damage, same for your belt as well, and physical damage, attack speed, and accuracy are all really nice things to get for damage, but you can just focus on life, strength, and resists if you want to. Later on, if you're really enjoying this build and want to push it a bit further, getting something like a Belly of the Beast on your chest armor is going to be a really big boost. With high life and strength totals across your gear, you're going to be able to get a huge HP boost from your Belly of the Beast. Okay, so now let's talk gem setups. You want Poacher's Mark linked to Blasphemy to automatically curse all enemies around you. And then it's not a bad idea to have Blink Arrow for mobility linked to faster attacks. I just have all these in the same 4-link, but you don't need to have those linked up. This build doesn't struggle for single target damage, but Vile Burning Arrow takes it to the next level. You link this to greater multiple projectiles, physical projectile attack damage, and trap. Now, this works exceptionally good with Chinsol's more damage at close range and point blank because the damage range is calculated from the trap. So the trap setup is essential for this Vile Burning Arrow, and the greater multiple projectiles will automatically cluster on top of each other, giving you more damage overall. It's a really nice setup. I like rocking an Ice Golem for the critical strike chance and accuracy boost. I have it just on cast and damage taken, level 4 cast and damage taken, with a level 6 golem, just for ease of use, so he automatically is cast and I don't need to worry about it. Herald of Ash, bonus points if you can get the Ghost Flame Herald of Ash because it looks amazing. Then your other supplemental skills are Arctic Armor and Rallying Cry. And then finally, your Blast Rain setup is simply Blast Rain. Quality is really nice on this, so I'd prioritize getting this as your first quality gem because it gives increased area of effect radius, which for clear speed is great, so try and get quality on it. Blast Rain linked to weapon elemental damage, faster attacks, slow projectiles, which doesn't really give any sort of negative effect for this skill because the projectile delay is so slow as compared to something like Rain of Arrows, but with a big more projectile damage. Really nice. And then added fire damage. For your 6th link, you could use something like physical projectile attack damage. For my flasks, I run 1 instant and 1 heal over time. A good idea is to have a bleeding removal flask with this build, and pretty much with any build these days. Adzira's Promise is a really nice damage boost because it scales up both the physical and elemental damage that you deal, which you deal very large amounts of both of those, and adds Chaos and extra leech as well, so it's a good survivability and damage boost. I use a Quicksilver of Heat. You could use a Quicksilver of Adrenaline for faster move speed again if you want to be super zippy, but because we already have really fast move speed, I instead opted to go for this Freeze and Chill removal. The way this actually works with a Quicksilver is it's very easy to keep a Quicksilver up as you're clearing through a map, and you could run chilled ground maps without taking any effect from it, so you can just run straight through the chilled ground without being slowed at all. So I really like the Quicksilver of Heat, but Adrenaline's a fine choice too. And then you want the Stibnite Flask of Reflexes. Surgeons is an okay prefix. You could use any one of the other charge recovery or ample prefixes or anything like that as well if you like. If you're not really feeling the Stibnite Flask, then an alternative is actually the Aquamarine Flask, which puts a chilled ground AoE around your character. Pulling enemies into chilled ground is also going to be a very effective way of mitigating their damage because they won't be able to hit you as often. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this build guide to probably one of my favorite builds so far. Just a really fun set of mechanics and playstyle. My only regret is that I didn't get to play it for longer last league because it was way more fun than some of the more expensive builds it farmed the currency for. I may have to actually remake this build. As always, any questions are welcome in the comments below. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.